The rain had been falling for 5 days straight. Chioma stood ankle-deep in muddy water inside what used to be her provision shop in the Surulere district of Lagos, watching everything she'd worked for float away. Bags of rice dissolved into soggy lumps. Cartons of noodles bobbed past her legs like small boats. The shells she'd saved for 3 years to buy now leaned at dangerous angles, groaning under the weight of water-damaged goods. "Mama, Mama, the water is coming into the room." Her 8-year-old daughter, Adana's voice cracked with fear from the single room they share behind a shop. Chioma's heart seized. She waded through the filthy water, her wrapper clinging to her legs, mud squelching between her toes. Everything, the little money she'd hidden in a biscuit tin, the children's school uniforms hanging on the line, the foam mattress they slept on, everything was being swallowed by the flood. What would you do if you lost everything in a single week? Hit like if you've ever had to start over from nothing, and comment below where you're watching from. 5 months ago, life had been different. Not perfect, but manageable. Then Emeka, her husband, collapsed at his taxi stand. A massive heart attack, they said, dead before anyone could help him. Chioma had barely finished crying when her mother-in-law, Mama Emeka, arrived with Emeka's 2 brothers. "You must leave this house," Mama Emeka had announced, her voice cold and final. "This property belongs to my son's family. You're not blood. But Mama, I am your son's wife. These are your grandchildren, wife." Mama Emeka's laugh had been bitter. "My son died without giving us a male heir from his loins. Only one small boy who looks nothing like our family. And that girl child," she'd waved dismissively at Adana. "Girls are not our inheritance. Pack your things," Chioma had begged. She'd cried. She'd reminded them of the 10 years she'd spent cooking, cleaning, and caring for them all. But domestic betrayal came swiftly in her husband's family. They'd accused her of using her husband's money carelessly, of being a bad wife who somehow caused his death through emotional manipulation. Within a week, she and her children were on the street with only what they could carry. That was when the real struggle began. Using the small savings she'd hidden from Emeka, money she'd earned selling vegetables at the market before marriage, Chioma had rented the shop space and the tiny room behind it. 6 months of hell. 6 months of waking at 4 a.m. to buy goods from the wholesale market at mile 12. 6 months of her children eating once a day while she ate nothing, so they could afford school fees. 6 months of ignoring the hungry stares of men who thought a single mother was easy prey for their advances, another form of betrayal she'd learned to expect. And now, the flood had taken it all. "Mama, please. The mattress is floating." 5-year-old Chinedu's cry jolted her into action. Chioma splashed through the water into their room. The water was waist-high now, darker, carrying the smell of sewage from the broken pipes down the street. She grabbed Chinedu and hoisted him onto her hip, then reached for Adana's hand. "Where will we go, Mama?" Adana asked, her school uniform soaked through, her eyes wide with terror. Chioma had no answer. She had exactly 8,000 naira left in the world, less than $15. No family to call. Her own parents had died in a car accident when she was 19, years before she met Emeka. Her father, Chief Okonkwo, had been a respected businessman, but when he died, distant relatives had descended like vultures, claiming everything. She'd been left with nothing then, and history was repeating itself now. They made it to higher ground just as the water reached her chest. Other shop owners huddled under a bridge, their faces masks of despair. Lagos was flooding badly this year, climate change and poor drainage creating disasters across the city. On Chioma, she turned to find a tall man in a surprisingly dry suit standing behind them, holding a black umbrella. He was in his 40s, with kind eyes and the careful posture of someone educated. Something about him seemed familiar, but she couldn't place it. "Do I know you?" she asked, instinctively pulling her children closer. "Your father and I were business partners," he said quietly. "My name is Olumide Adeyemi. I've been looking for you for 3 years." Chioma's breath caught. "My father?" Chief Okonkwo died over 10 years ago. Everything was taken, not everything. Olumide interrupted, glancing at the crowd around them. "We can't talk here." But, Mrs. Okafor, you need to know something. The people who told you nothing was left were lying. Your father left you something substantial. Very substantial. And I have the documents to prove it. The world seemed to tilt. Chioma stared at this stranger, at his expensive suit and confident manner, and felt something she hadn't felt in months, a dangerous flutter of hope. "Why should I believe you?" she whispered. "Everyone has betrayed me. My husband's family threw me out. The relatives who took my father's property disappeared. Why would you? Because I made a promise to your father before he died," Olyamide said. "And because what was hidden needs to come to light. But there are people who don't want you to know the truth. People who've been profiting from your ignorance." He pressed a piece of paper into her hand with an address written on it. "Meet me tomorrow at this place. Come alone. And Mrs. Okafor?" His expression turned grave. "Don't tell anyone about this conversation. Not yet. The family members who betrayed your trust back then? They're closer than you think." Before Chioma could respond, Olyamide melted back into the crowd of displaced flood victims, leaving her standing in the rain with her 2 children, her entire life destroyed, and an address that might be her salvation, or another cruel trick. That night, huddled in a church shelter with dozens of other flood victims, Chioma clutched that paper like a lifeline. But sleep wouldn't come. One question burned in her mind. If her father had left her an inheritance, who had been keeping it from her all these years? And why reveal it now, when she had nothing left to lose? The answer, she would soon discover, was more shocking than the flood itself. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What do you think the stranger knows? Comment below, and share this story with someone who loves drama. Morning came with the harsh reality of displacement. The church shelter smelled of damp bodies and despair. Chioma woke to find Chinedu burning with fever, his small body shivering despite the humid Lagos heat. Around them, other flood victims argued over donated food and sleeping spaces. "Mama, I'm hungry," Adana whispered, trying not to disturb the other sleeping children crowded on the floor. Chioma counted her remaining money. 8,000 naira. She needed to feed her children, buy fever medicine for Chinedu, and somehow find a way to meet this Olyamide person. But could she trust him? In her experience, promises from strangers led only to more heartbreak. She thought of Emeka, her late husband. He hadn't been a perfect man. There were nights he came home, late smelling of cheap perfume, whispers from neighbors about him spending time at a bar with a woman who sold groundnuts. Infidelity in marriage had been a quiet poison between them, never discussed but always present. Still, she'd convinced herself that at least she had security, a home, a family. That delusion had shattered the moment Emeka's heart stopped beating. "Come," Chioma said, gathering her children. "Let's find you some food." The church had set up a relief station, but the line stretched for hours. Women argued. Children cried. Chioma recognized some of her former customers from the shop, their faces etched with the same desperate exhaustion she felt. This was Lagos, millions of people grinding to survive, one disaster away from losing everything. Yes, they waited. A woman about Chioma's age approached, wearing a volunteer vest. Her face was kind, tired. "Your son doesn't look well. Let me get you some medicine from our supplies." The woman, whose name was Patience, brought fever medicine and offered to watch the children, while Chioma handled personal business. Chioma wanted to cry from gratitude. "I have to meet someone," Chioma admitted. About family matters." Patience nodded knowingly. After disasters like this, family shows their true colors. Some come to help. Others come to take advantage. "Be careful, sister." Those words echoed in Chioma's mind as she borrowed a clean wrapper from Patience and made her way to the address Olyamide had given her. It was a compound in Acacia, modest but well-maintained, with high walls and a well-kept garden. Not flashy wealth, but comfortable security. A house girl answered the gate and led Chioma to a sitting room filled with African art and family photographs. Chioma's heart stopped when she saw one photo. Her father, Chief Okonkwo, standing next to a younger Olyamide, both men laughing, arms around each other's shoulders. "That was taken in 1998, Olyamide said, entering the room. Your father had just secured a major contract with a Chinese textile company. We celebrated for 3 days straight. His smile faded. And then, 2 years later, he was gone. And I lost my best friend. Chioma's throat tightened. Everyone told me Papa died with nothing, that he had debts, that I should be grateful my Uncle Boniface took me in. Your uncle is a liar and a thief, Olyamide said bluntly. And I'm about to prove it to you. He opened a metal box and pulled out documents. Old, yellowed papers with official stamps and signatures. Property deeds, bank statements, business certificates, all bearing her father's name. And one document that made Chioma's hands shake, a letter written in her father's handwriting addressed to her. Read it, Olyamide urged gently. With trembling fingers, Chioma unfolded the letter. My dearest Chioma, if you are reading this, then I am gone, and Olyamide has finally found you. I pray you are well. I pray you have found happiness. But I fear that my brother Boniface has poisoned your life with lies. Know this, my daughter, I left you everything. 3 properties in Lagos, a warehouse in Trade Fair, shares in my textile business, money in accounts that only Olyamide can access. It is all yours. Every naira, every brick, every memory of the empire I built. But I also know my brother. He is greedy and jealous. He will tell you I died in debt. He will take what is yours and call it his. That is why I entrusted everything to Olyamide, my true brother in spirit, if not in blood. Trust him, Chioma. He will guide you. He will help you reclaim what is yours. And when you do, remember this. Family is not always blood. Sometimes, the people who betray us were the faces of those we love most. Be strong, my daughter. Be fierce. You have my warrior spirit in you. Your loving father. Chief Ezekiel Okonkwo tears streamed down Chioma's face. Her father had known. He'd known Boniface would betray her, and he'd tried to protect her. But somehow, that protection had failed. What happened? She whispered. Why didn't you find me sooner? Olyamide's face darkened. Your uncle was clever. When your father died, Boniface moved fast. He told everyone you'd run away, that you were ungrateful and wanted nothing to do with the family. He forged documents claiming your father had signed everything over to him before death. And when I tried to fight him, he threatened my family. Said if I didn't disappear, my children would suffer accidents. So you left me with nothing. Chioma's voice rose with anger. I never stopped looking for you. Olyamide shot back. But you disappeared. You married and took a new name. Moved to a part of Lagos I couldn't track. Your uncle made sure I couldn't find you. And I. He paused, shame crossing his face. I was a coward. I chose my children's safety over my promise to your father. For that, I will never forgive myself. Chioma wanted to rage at him, but she understood. She would have done the same to protect Adana and Chinedu. Survival made cowards of them all. So what changed? She asked. Why come forward now? Because 3 months ago, your uncle made a mistake, Olyamide said. He got greedy, started selling off properties that legally don't belong to him. One of the buyers came to me asking questions about the original owner. That's when I realized Boniface thinks you're gone for good. He's been living off your inheritance for 15 years, and now he's cashing out completely. The rage that filled Chioma was white-hot and purifying. 15 years. 15 years of her uncle living in comfort while she'd starved, while she'd been thrown onto the streets, while she'd suffered humiliation after humiliation. I want it back, she said, her voice steel. All of it. Not for the money. For my children. For my father's memory. And because I want to see Uncle Boniface's face when he realizes he's lost. Olyamide smiled grimly. That's your father's daughter speaking. But there's a problem. Your uncle has been very careful. The properties are in his name now, through those forged documents. The bank accounts have been emptied and moved. On paper, he owns everything legally. Then we take it back illegally, Chioma said. Not illegally, Olyamide corrected. But we need to be smart. We need to expose him, discredit him, make him give everything back voluntarily. And I think I know how. He pulled out another photograph. Do you recognize this woman? Chioma stared at the image of an elegant woman in her 60s, wearing expensive jewelry and standing in front of a mansion. She looked vaguely familiar, but that's your uncle's wife, Auntie Ngozi, Olamide said. She has no idea where your uncle's money really came from. She thinks he's a successful businessman. But what if she learned the truth? What if she discovered her comfortable life was built on stolen inheritance meant for an orphan niece? Chioma's mind raced. You want to turn his wife against him? I want to give her the truth and let her decide, Olamide said. Auntie Ngozi is a proud woman. She's always talking at church about righteousness and integrity. How do you think she'll react when she learns her husband is a thief who stole from his dead brother's child? It was brilliant. Cruel, perhaps, but brilliant. Chioma remembered Auntie Ngozi from childhood, a woman who valued her reputation above all else, who would rather die than face public disgrace. But we need proof, Chioma said. We need to show her documents, evidence. We have some, Olamide said, gesturing to the metal box. But you're right, we need more. We need your uncle to incriminate himself. And I think I know how to make that happen. He leaned forward. Your uncle thinks you're broken, defeated, just another flood victim with no hope. What if you confronted him, told him you know about the inheritance? He'll panic. He'll say things he shouldn't. And if we record that conversation, he'll deny everything, Chioma protested. He'll call me crazy. Maybe, Olamide agreed. But men like your uncle are arrogant. They can't resist gloating when they think they've won. If you play the desperate victim, beg him for help, appeal to his sense of family, he might just reveal the truth. And when he does, we'll have our weapon. Chioma's heart pounded. It was risky, facing the man who'd stolen her life, pretending to be weak when she wanted to claw his eyes out. But if it worked, when, she asked. Tomorrow, Olamide said. There's a family meeting at your uncle's house. Some kind of celebration. Perfect opportunity for you to show up unexpected. Play the desperate widow, the helpless victim. And while he's enjoying his triumph over you, I'll be outside, recording every word through the phone I'm going to give you. He pulled out a smartphone, new, expensive. Keep this in your pocket. It will record everything. And Chioma, his expression turned serious. Your uncle is dangerous. If he suspects what you're doing, if he realizes you're not just a broken woman, but a threat, he might do something desperate. Are you prepared for that? Chioma thought of her children sleeping in that shelter. She thought of her father's letter. She thought of every moment of suffering she'd endured because of one man's greed. I'm prepared, she said. But as she left Olamide's compound and headed back to the shelter, a figure stepped out of the shadows. Chioma's blood ran cold. It was Mama Emeka, her late husband's mother, the woman who'd thrown her onto the streets. And she was smiling. Well, Mama Emeka said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Little Chioma, meeting with strange men while your children suffer in a shelter. How very interesting, and how very foolish. Behind her, two of her church women emerged from the darkness, their expressions matching Mama Emeka's predatory grin. Did you really think you could sneak around Lagos without anyone noticing? Mama Emeka continued. Poor child, you're even more stupid than I thought. Now, you're going to tell me exactly what you and that man discussed. And if you don't, she snapped her fingers, and one of the women pulled out a phone showing a video of Adana and Chinidu sleeping in the shelter. Accidents happen so easily to children, especially in these difficult times. What do you think happens to Chioma now? Is Mama Emeka working with Uncle Boniface? Comment your theories below and share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Chioma's first instinct was to lunge at Mama Emeka, to scratch out those cruel eyes, to make her pay for threatening her children. But years of survival had taught her control. Instead, she forced herself to slump her shoulders, to let tears fill her eyes, to become the broken woman they expected. Please, Mama, she whispered, don't hurt my children. They've done nothing wrong. Mama Emeka's smile widened. There's my good daughter-in-law, always so obedient when properly motivated. She gestured to a nearby bench under a flickering streetlight. Sit, tell me everything, and maybe, just maybe, I'll let you go back to those precious babies of yours. Chioma sat, her mind racing. The phone Olamide had given her was in her wrapper pocket. Was it recording? She had to keep talking, Had to draw out information. I don't know what you want to hear, Chioma said, letting her voice shake. That man, Olyamide, he said he knew my father. Oh, I know exactly who he is, Mama Emeka interrupted, settling onto the bench like a queen on her throne. Olyamide Adeyemi, your father's old business partner. The fool who's been trying to stir up trouble about some inheritance that doesn't exist. She laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Did he tell you there was money waiting for you? Property? Business deals? Poor Chioma. You really are desperate enough to believe anything. But he had documents, Chioma protested. Papers with my father's signature. Forgeries. Mama Emeka snapped. Or at best, old business contracts that mean nothing now. Your father died, owing money everywhere. Your uncle Boniface took you, and out of the goodness of his heart, raised you when no one else would. And this is how you repay him? By listening to outsiders who want to create family drama. Something in Mama Emeka's tone rang false. She was trying too hard to convince Chioma, as if she were following a script. Which meant, how do you know my uncle? Chioma asked quietly. The older woman's expression flickered, just for a moment, but Chioma caught it. Triumph. As if she'd been waiting for that exact question. Boniface and I go way back, Mama Emeka said, her voice turning conversational. We met at a business conference 15 years ago. He told me about his ungrateful niece, how she'd run away and refused the family's help, how she was probably living in shame somewhere. She leaned closer. And then, a few years later, I met Emeka at church. Sweet boy. Handsome. My youngest son. And when I told Boniface about him, he had the most interesting proposal. Chioma's blood turned to ice. What proposal? Oh, nothing sinister, Mama Emeka said with false lightness. Just that perhaps Emeka could befriend this wayward niece. Keep an eye on her. Make sure she didn't go looking for things that didn't belong to her. And in exchange, Boniface would help our family financially. Support my husband's business. Pay for my daughter's weddings. So many expenses, raising children in Lagos. The domestic betrayal cut deeper than anything Chioma had imagined. Her entire marriage, meeting Emeka at church, his courtship, their wedding, the birth of their children, all of it had been orchestrated. She was a mark, a target, a problem to be managed. So Emeka never loved me, Chioma said, her voice hollow. Oh, I think he did, eventually, Mama Emeka said almost kindly. He wasn't supposed to. It was just a job at first. But you were pretty obedient, a good cook. He got comfortable, started believing his own lies. Her expression hardened. But love doesn't change the facts. This marriage was an arrangement. And when Emeka died, conveniently, I might add, it freed everyone from a complicated situation. Chioma's head snapped up. What do you mean, conveniently? But Mama Emeka had caught herself. Nothing. Emeka had a weak heart. Everyone knew that. Stress from trying to provide for an expensive wife and children. These things happen. She was lying. Every instinct Chioma had screamed that Mama Emeka was lying. But before she could press further, one of the church women whispered something urgent to Mama Emeka. The older woman's face changed. It seems we have a problem. Olyamide Adeyemi is coming this way. With friends. She stood abruptly. This conversation isn't over, Chioma. You will stay away from that man and his lies. You will forget this nonsense about inheritance. And in exchange, I'll make sure your children are safe in that shelter. But if you continue to cause trouble. She leaned down until her face was inches from Chioma's. Accidents happen. Fires start. Children get separated from their mothers in the chaos. Do you understand me? Before Chioma could respond, Mama Emeka and her women melted into the Lagos night, leaving Chioma shaking on the bench. Chioma! Olyamide appeared from around the corner, out of breath. I saw Mama Emeka following you. Are you hurt? She threatened my children, Chioma said, her voice shaking not with fear but with rage. And she told me things. Olyamide, my marriage was fake. Emeka was paid to marry me. All of it was a lie. Olyamide's face darkened. Then we have even more reason to destroy them. Did you get it recorded? Chioma pulled out the phone. Her hand was shaking so badly she could barely hold it. But when they played back the audio, every word was clear. Mama Emeka's voice, admitting to the conspiracy with Boniface, talking about the arrangement with Emeka. This is good, Olyamide said grimly. But it's not enough. We need Boniface to confirm it himself. We need him on record. He paused. But Chioma, you heard what Mama Emeka said about Emeka's death. About it being convenient. What if they killed him? Chioma finished. The thought had been forming in her mind since Mama Emeka's slip. Because he was starting to actually love me? Starting to feel guilty. We need to be careful, Olyamide warned. These people have already committed fraud, theft, emotional manipulation. If they've also committed murder. He didn't finish the sentence. They walked back toward the shelter in silence, Chioma's mind churning. Everything she believed about her life was a lie. But she couldn't fall apart now. Not when her children depended on her. As they approached the shelter, they found chaos. People were shouting, running. And in the center of it all was Patience, the volunteer who'd been watching Chioma's children, holding Adana and Chinedu close while another woman tried to pull them away. Those are my grandchildren, the woman was shouting. This kidnapper is trying to steal them. Chioma's heart stopped. The woman was Mama Emeka's sister, Auntie Ifeoma, and she was making a scene, drawing a crowd, creating exactly the kind of public disgrace that would make it impossible for Chioma to protect her children. Thief! Child trafficker! Auntie Ifeoma screamed, pointing at Patience. She's pretending to be a volunteer, but she's stealing flood orphans to sell. No, Chioma pushed through the crowd. Those are my children. I'm their mother. But Auntie Ifeoma spun on her, eyes wild with false concern. Oh, you poor thing. This woman told us the children's mother had drowned in the flood, that she was taking them somewhere safe. Were you fooled too? Did she lie to you? It was a trap. A beautiful, vicious trap. If Chioma claimed the children now, she looked like she was part of the trafficking. If she didn't, Auntie Ifeoma would take them, and Chioma might never see them again. Everyone stopped. A commanding voice cut through the chaos. An elderly woman emerged from the crowd, her silver hair tied in a neat bun, her bearing that of someone used to respect. I am Mother Teresa Okafor, head of the Women's Shelter Ministry. What exactly is happening here? Auntie Ifeoma immediately switched to tears. Oh, Mother, thank God you're here. This woman, she pointed at Patience, she's trying to take these poor orphan children. Their mother died in the flood, and she's pretending to care for them. But I heard her on the phone talking about selling them. That's a lie. Patience cried. Their mother is right here. I've been watching them for her while she... Can you prove you're their mother? Mother Teresa asked Chioma directly, her sharp eyes assessing that Chioma's mind raced. She had no documents. Everything had been destroyed in the flood. Birth certificates, school records, photos, all gone. All she had was Mama. Chinedu broke free from Patience's grip and ran to Chioma, wrapping his small arms around her legs. Mama, I'm scared. That woman is lying. She's not our grandma. Adana followed, crying. Mama, don't let them take us. Mother Teresa's expression softened as she watched the children cling to Chioma. These children know their mother, she said firmly. There will be no removing of children from their parent without proper verification. Auntie, if you have concerns about trafficking, you can file a proper report. But these children stay with their mother. Auntie Ifeoma's face twisted with fury. She leaned close to Chioma and hissed. You think you've won? My sister warned you. This is your last chance. Walk away from whatever nonsense Olyamide has been filling your head with. Or next time, I won't be so subtle. She stormed off, leaving Chioma holding her children and trying not to collapse. Thank you, she whispered to Mother Teresa. The elderly woman studied her for a long moment. That woman was lying about many things, but she was right about one thing. You're in danger. All of you. She pressed a card into Chioma's hand. This is the address of a safe house we maintain for women fleeing dangerous situations. It's not official, not registered anywhere. Just women helping women. If you need to disappear for a while, go there. Tell them Mother Teresa sent you. Before Chioma could ask questions, the woman was gone, swallowed by the crowd of flood victims. Olyamide appeared at her side. We need to move faster than I thought. They're escalating, making public accusations of trafficking. That's designed to isolate you. make people suspicious of you. If they keep pushing this narrative, he didn't need to finish. They both knew how quickly mob justice could turn deadly in Lagos. Tomorrow, Chioma said, her voice hard with determination. Tomorrow, I confront my uncle, and I don't care how dangerous it is. I'm ending this. But that night, as they prepare to move to Mother Teresa's safe house, Chioma's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. When she opened it, her blood ran cold. It was a photo of her father's grave, and someone had spray-painted across the headstone. The truth dies with the dead. Ask your uncle about the poison. The safe house Mother Teresa had sent them to was a modest 3-bedroom apartment in Acadia, hidden in a compound behind a church. 6 other women were staying there, each with their own story of betrayal and survival. They welcomed Chioma and her children with quiet understanding. No questions asked, no judgments made. That night, while Adana and Shinidu slept on a clean mattress for the first time in days, Chioma sat with Olyamide in the compound courtyard, staring at the photo on her phone. Poison, she whispered. My father was poisoned. We don't know that for certain, Olyamide cautioned. This could be psychological warfare. Your uncle trying to shake you, make you emotional and careless before tomorrow's confrontation. Or it could be the truth. Chioma's voice was hollow. You said it yourself. My father was healthy one day, dead the next. The doctors called it a heart attack, but what if your uncle couldn't wait for his brother to die naturally? Olyamide finished. It's possible. Boniface has always been impatient, and with money involved. He trailed off, but they both knew what he meant. People killed for far less than the inheritance chief, Okonkwo, had left behind. I need to know, Chioma said. Before I confront him tomorrow, I need to know if he killed my father. How? Olyamide asked. We can't go digging up graves. We have no proof, no witnesses after 15 years, but we might have someone who knows the truth, Chioma interrupted. You said my father had a household staff. What happened to them after he died? Olyamide's eyes widened with understanding. His cook, Auntie Blessing. She worked for your father for 20 years. She was there the night he died. After Boniface took over, he fired her, said he didn't need her services. I heard she moved to Abeokuta, opened a small restaurant. Then we go to Abeokuta, Chioma said. Tonight. Chioma, that's 3 hours away. I don't care if it's in another country, Chioma said fiercely. My children are in danger because of what my uncle did. Maybe he stole from us. Maybe he killed for us. But I need to know the full truth before I walk into his house tomorrow. Because if he did kill my father, I need to be prepared for what he might do to me. The drive to Abeokuta was tense and silent. Olyamide had borrowed a friend's car, and they left the children sleeping safely in the care of the other women at the safe house. As they drove through the night, leaving the chaos of Lagos behind, Chioma felt the weight of everything pressing down on her. 15 years ago, she'd been a naive girl who trusted her uncle to care for her. Now she was a mother fighting for her children's future, uncovering betrayals that went deeper than she'd imagined. Domestic betrayal wasn't just about her marriage. It was about family bonds twisted by greed, about people who should have protected her instead conspiring to destroy her. They found Auntie Blessing's restaurant just after midnight. It was a small buka-style eatery, closed for the night, but with lights still on in the back. When Olyamide knocked, a round-faced woman in her 60s opened the door, her expression suspicious until she saw him. Mr. Olyamide? Her eyes widened. After all these years? What? Then she saw Chioma, and her hand flew to her mouth. Jesus Christ! Is that little Chioma? Chief's daughter. Hello, Auntie Blessing, Chioma said softly. I'm sorry to come so late, but I need to ask you about the night my father died. Auntie Blessing's face went pale. She glanced around nervously, as if checking for eavesdroppers, then pulled them inside and locked the door. I knew this day would come, she said, her voice shaking. I've been carrying this secret for 15 years, and it's been eating me alive. But I was scared. Your uncle threatened me, said if I ever spoke about what I saw. She sat heavily on a bench, tears streaming down her face. I was a coward. I chose my own safety over justice for Chief Okonkwo. Over justice for you. Chioma's heart pounded. What did you see, Auntie? Auntie Blessing took a deep breath. The night your father died, He and Uncle Boniface had dinner together. Just the two of them. Your father had been talking about updating his will, making sure everything was protected for you. He didn't trust Boniface, never had. But Boniface was his brother, so he kept trying to give him chances. What happened during the dinner? Olyamide pressed. Uncle Boniface brought palm wine. Auntie Blessing said. Special wine, he said, from their hometown. They drank together, talked for hours. I served them food, but... She paused, wiping her eyes. I noticed Uncle Boniface didn't drink much from his own cup. He kept pouring for Chief, encouraging him to drink more, saying they should celebrate his brothers. And Chief, he was happy. He thought maybe his brother was finally changing, finally becoming trustworthy. Chioma felt sick. The wine was poisoned. I didn't know it then, Auntie Blessing said miserably. But later that night, Chief started complaining of chest pains, difficulty breathing. He was sweating, vomiting. I wanted to get help, but Uncle Boniface said no, it was just indigestion. Chief just needed to rest. He sent me away, said he would take care of his brother. And by morning, Papa was dead, Chioma whispered. The death was called natural, Auntie Blessing continued. Heart attack, they said. Your father was overweight, had high blood pressure. No one questioned it. And I didn't say anything because Uncle Boniface came to me the next day with cash and a message. He said if I spoke about the dinner, about the wine, about anything, he would make sure I never worked again, would make sure my own children suffered. So I took the money and ran. But you kept the evidence, Olyamide said suddenly. That's why you looked so scared when we arrived. You have something, don't you? Auntie Blessing nodded slowly. She went to a back room and returned with a small lockbox. Inside was a bottle, half empty, dusty, but carefully preserved. The palm wine bottle, she said. I took it that night without Uncle Boniface knowing. I thought maybe someday someone would need proof. But 15 years passed, and I thought. She looked at Chioma with tears streaming down her face. I thought you were gone, lost, and this secret would die with me. Chioma took the bottle with shaking hands. This was it. Evidence that her uncle wasn't just a thief. He was a murderer. A man who'd poisoned his own brother for money, then spent 15 years living off that blood money while his niece starved. Will you testify? Olyamide asked Auntie Blessing. Tell the truth about what you saw. The cook's face crumbled with fear and shame. If I do, he'll kill me. You don't know what he's capable of. I do know, Chioma said quietly. He's capable of murdering his brother, of stealing from an orphan, of threatening children, which is why I need you to be brave now, Auntie. Help me stop him before he hurts anyone else. Auntie Blessing looked at the bottle, at Chioma's determined face, at her own reflection in the darkened restaurant window. My children are grown now, she said finally. They have families of their own, far from Lagos. Maybe it's time I stopped being a coward. They left Abeokuta at 2 a.m. with the bottle carefully wrapped and Auntie Blessing's promise to join them when needed. But as they drove back to Lagos, Chioma's phone rang. It was one of the women from the safe house. Her voice panicked. Sister Chioma, you need to come now. A man came looking for you. Said he was family. Said the children's grandmother sent him to collect them. Mother Teresa turned him away, but he's outside the compound now, watching. He's not alone. Chioma's blood turned to ice. Don't let anyone near my children. We're coming. They sped through the night, Olyamide's car flying down empty highways. But when they were 30 minutes from Lagos, they hit traffic, an overturned truck blocking the road, cars backed up for miles. No way around it. We have to go on foot, Chioma said, already opening the door. Chioma, that's 10 kilometers. My children are in danger, she screamed. I'm going with or without you. She ran. Through the stalled traffic, down side roads, through neighborhoods she didn't know. Her lungs burned. Her legs cramped. But she couldn't stop. Because if something happened to Adana and Chinedu, if her uncle's people took them, she reached the compound at dawn to find Mother Teresa standing at the gate with a machete in her hands. Behind her, the other women formed a protective wall. And behind them, peering through the window, were Adana and Chinedu's frightened faces. Outside the gate, 5 men lounged against a van, watching, waiting. They've been here all night, Mother Teresa said grimly. threatening to break down the gate, saying the children are kidnapped. I sent for help from the church elders, but she glanced at the men. These are thugs, Chioma, the kind who don't care about right or wrong. They're just waiting for the right moment. One of the men stepped forward, a tall figure with tribal marks across his cheeks. Mrs. Okafor, your uncle wants to speak with you. Alone. He says if you come now, the children can stay safe. If you refuse, he gestured vaguely at the compound. Accidents happen to everyone. It was a trap, obviously, but Chioma was out of time. The confrontation she'd been planning for later that day had come early. Tell my uncle I'll meet him, she said, but not at his house. Somewhere public. Computer Village in Acadia. Noon today. And if he wants me to come alone, he needs to call off his dogs first. The man made a phone call, spoke in low tones, then nodded. He agrees. Computer Village, noon. Don't be late, Mrs. Okafor. And don't bring your friend, Alyamide. This is family business. The men left, their van disappearing into early morning traffic. But Chioma knew this was just the beginning. You can't go, Alyamide said, finally catching up to her out of breath. It's too dangerous. He could kill you in that crowd and disappear before anyone notices. Then I'll die trying to protect my children, Chioma said simply. But I won't die alone, and I won't die silent. She pulled out the phone Alyamide had given her. You'll be recording everything. And Auntie Blessing will be nearby, ready to speak up if needed. And if something happens to me, you take this evidence, she held up the palm wine bottle, and you make sure everyone knows what Boniface Okonkwo really is. The sun rose over Lagos, and Chioma prepared for the most dangerous meeting of her life. But she had one advantage her uncle didn't know about. She was no longer the scared, broken woman he thought she was. She was a mother with nothing left to lose, and that made her more dangerous than any thug he could hire. Computer Village at noon was chaos. Thousands of people buying phones, laptops, accessories, hawkers shouting, generators roaring, the smell of heat and sweat and electronics hanging thick in the air. Chioma arrived 30 minutes early, wearing the same borrowed wrapper from the safe house, carrying nothing but the phone recording in her pocket. Alyamide was somewhere in the crowd with a camera, disguised as a customer. Auntie Blessing waited at a nearby bukka, ready to step forward if needed. And Chioma's children were safe at the compound with Mother Teresa and her army of protective women. Chioma was ready. Uncle Boniface arrived exactly at noon in a black Mercedes, flanked by the same thugs from earlier. But he dismissed them with a wave, approaching Chioma alone. He'd aged well. Expensive agbada, gold jewelry, the comfortable bulk of a man who'd never missed a meal. When he saw Chioma, his face split into a wide, false smile. Chioma, my dear niece. He opened his arms for an embrace. Look at you. So thin. So tired. This flood has been terrible, hasn't it? Chioma didn't move. Hello, Uncle Boniface. His smile faltered at her cold tone, but he recovered quickly. Come, let's find somewhere to talk properly. There's a nice restaurant nearby. We talk here, Chioma said, in public, where people can see us. Boniface's eyes narrowed. Still so stubborn. You always were difficult, even as a child. Your father spoiled you, made you think you were special. He sighed dramatically. But look where that pride has gotten you. Living in a shelter, your children growing up in poverty. All because you're too proud to accept help from family. Is that what you call it? Chioma asked softly. Help, of course. Boniface spread his hands magnanimously. When your father died, God rest his soul, he left nothing but debts. I paid those debts with my own money. I took you in, fed you, educated you. And what thanks did I get? You ran away, married some taxi driver, disappeared for years. Ungrateful girl. Every word was a lie, delivered with such conviction that Chioma almost admired his skill. But she'd learned something from years of survival. Liars always revealed themselves if you gave them enough rope. I saw Alyamide Adeyemi, she said, watching his face carefully. There, a flicker of fear quickly masked. Alyamide? That old fraud? Still telling his stories about hidden inheritances? Boniface laughed, but it sounded forced. Chioma, that man has been trying to scam our family for years. He claims your father left documents, properties, money. All lies. He's just trying to extort us. Then you won't mind if I meet with him again, Chioma said. If it's all lies, what harm can it do? Boniface's expression hardened. I mind very much. That man is dangerous. He's filled your head with fantasies about wealth that doesn't exist. And now you're neglecting your children, chasing shadows. He leaned closer, his voice dropping. Listen to me carefully, Chioma. I'm going to make you an offer. One time only. I'll give you money, enough to rent a new shop, start over. I'll even help with the children's school fees. All you have to do is stop talking to Olyamide. Stop asking questions about things that are dead and buried. Like my father, Chioma asked. The silence between them was electric. Around them, Computer Village continued its chaotic dance. People haggling, hawkers calling out, phones ringing. But in their small bubble, everything had gone still. Your father died of a heart attack, Boniface said slowly. It was tragic. We all mourned him. But it was natural causes, Chioma. Sometimes people just die. What about Emeka? Chioma pressed. My husband. Another sudden death. Another heart attack. Was that natural too? Boniface's face went carefully blank. I don't know what you're implying. I'm implying that people around you die conveniently, Chioma said, her voice rising. People who might tell the truth. People who might expose your lies. My father. My husband. How many others? Uncle? How many people have you silenced? You're hysterical. Boniface snapped. Grief has made you crazy. You need help, Chioma. Mental help. Maybe you should talk to someone about having you evaluated. Those children shouldn't be with an unstable mother, like you talked to someone about having my father's assets transferred to your name. Chioma shot back. Like you talked to Mama Emeka about arranging my marriage to keep me under control. Like you're talking to those thugs about threatening my children. Boniface's mask finally slipped. The genial uncle disappeared, replaced by something cold and calculating. You should be careful about making accusations you can't prove. But I can prove it, Chioma said. She pulled out a small digital recorder. Not the phone, but a separate device Olyamide had given her as backup. Everything you just said, recorded, including your threats about mental evaluation and taking my children. And that's not all I have, Uncle. For the first time, Boniface looked genuinely shaken. You're bluffing. Am I? Chioma smiled grimly. Ask yourself this. Why would I confront you here, in public, with witnesses everywhere, unless I had evidence to back up every word? Why would I risk your thugs, risk your threats, unless I knew I could destroy you? Boniface stared at her, his mind visibly racing through possibilities. Then his expression shifted to something uglier, raw, naked hatred. You stupid girl, he hissed. You think a recording matters? You think anyone will care? I've been building my reputation in this city for 15 years. I have friends in high places, business connections, respect. You're nobody. A homeless widow with 2 bastard children. Who will believe you? Everyone, said a voice behind him. Boniface spun to find Auntie Blessing standing there, flanked by 3 elderly women, former servants from Chief Okonkwo's household. Women Chioma hadn't known were still alive until Olyamide had tracked them down that morning. We will testify to what we saw, Auntie Blessing said, her voice stronger than Chioma had ever heard it. About the poison palm wine. About how you stole Chief Okonkwo's documents after his death. About how you bribed us to stay silent. We have names, dates, bank records of the payments you made. And we're not afraid anymore. I have the bottle, Chioma added. The palm wine bottle from the night my father died. Still sealed, still full of whatever poison you used. Modern testing can identify compounds even after 15 years, Uncle. Want to bet your freedom on that? Boniface's face went from red to purple. His hands clenched into fists. For a moment, Chioma thought he might actually strike her right there in the crowd. But then he seemed to regain control. Even if any of this were true, he said carefully, what makes you think I'll just give up? You want your father's assets? Fine. Hire lawyers. Fight me in court. See how far a poor widow gets against a man with my resources. It will take years, decades. And in the meantime, his smile was venomous. Accidents happen, Chioma, to everyone, even to nosy nieces and their unfortunate children. It was the threat Chioma had been waiting for. Olyamide had needed confirmation on recording that Boniface was willing to harm them. Now they had it. But before she could respond, a commotion erupted at the edge of the market. A woman's voice screaming Boniface's name. People were parting, staring, and through the crowd came Ngozi, Boniface's wife, her hair wild, her expensive clothes disheveled, her face a mask of rage. "You lying bastard!" she screamed, storming up to Boniface and slapping him hard across the face. "You told me you were a successful businessman. You said you built everything yourself. 15 years of lies." Boniface grabbed her wrist. "Woman, are you mad? What are you doing here? Don't touch me." Ngozi yanked free. She turned to the gathering crowd, because in Lagos, a good fight always drew an audience. "This man, my husband, stole from his own brother's child, poisoned his brother for money, and I've been living off blood money while that poor girl starved on the streets." Ngozi shut up. No, his wife was beyond caring now. Chioma realized this was Olyamide's other strategy. He'd sent Ngozi all the evidence that morning, shown her the bank statements, the forged documents, everything. And the proud woman's reputation had shattered. "Everyone needs to know what kind of monster you are, what kind of family I'm married into." She pulled papers from her purse and threw them at Boniface's feet. Property deeds in his brother's name, bank accounts he emptied, business certificates he forged. "I'm done protecting you, Boniface. Done being part of your evil." The crowd was murmuring now, pressing closer. In Lagos, public disgrace was the ultimate weapon. Social media phones were out, filming. This wasn't just a private confrontation anymore. It was becoming a viral scandal. Boniface realized it too. His face went white. "You foolish woman, you've destroyed us both. You destroyed us." Ngozi screamed. "I'm going to our children right now and telling them everything. Telling them their father is a murderer and a thief. And then I'm taking my belongings and leaving. You can rot in whatever hell you've made for yourself." She stormed off, leaving Boniface standing in the center of Computer Village, surrounded by hundreds of witnesses, all watching, all recording, all spreading the news across Lagos's unstoppable gossip network. He turned to Chioma, and for the first time, she saw real fear in his eyes. "You planned this. All of it. I learned from the best," Chioma said coldly. "You taught me that family betrayal is the deepest cut. That public humiliation destroys more effectively than violence. That a good conspiracy requires patience and precise timing." "Thank you for the lessons, Uncle. This isn't over," Boniface snarled. "You can't prove the poison. You can't prove I forged anything. You're just making accusations." "Actually," said a new voice, "she can prove everything." Olyamide emerged from the crowd, holding a tablet. "I've spent the last 3 months working with a private investigator, because unlike lawyers, PIs don't need court orders to dig up dirt. We have bank records showing exactly how you liquidated your brother's accounts. We have testimony from the clerk you bribed to file false death certificates. We have the palm wine bottle, which we had tested last night at a private lab in Lekki. It contains enough poison to kill 3 men." He held up the tablet, showing a detailed report. "But my favorite evidence? The emails. See, Uncle Boniface, you got sloppy in recent years. Started using email to coordinate with your accomplices, including Mama Emeka, including several others. And one of them, feeling guilty, I suppose, gave us access to everything. Every message, every plan, every admission of guilt." Boniface's face crumbled. The realization that he was truly beaten washed over him like a wave. But instead of surrender, it triggered something darker. "If I'm going down," he said softly, "you're coming with me. Both of us destroyed. At least I'll have that satisfaction." He lunged at Chioma, his hands reaching for her throat. But he'd underestimated her. Years of surviving had made her fast, made her strong. She sidestepped, and as he stumbled past, she stuck out her leg. Boniface crashed into a table of phones, sending hundreds of devices flying. The crowd gasped. The vendor started screaming about payment. And in the chaos, Boniface scrambled to his feet and ran, pushing through the crowd, heading for his Mercedes. "Let him go," Olyamide said as Chioma started to follow. "He can run, but he can't hide. Not after this." The story is already spreading. By tomorrow, everyone in Lagos will know what he did. His business reputation is destroyed. His marriage is over. His social standing is ruined. And we have more than enough evidence to pursue him for everything he stole. Chioma watched her uncle's car disappear into traffic. She felt empty, not satisfied, not victorious, just tired. The properties, she said quietly. My father's businesses. Can I actually get them back? Most of them, yes, Alyamai confirmed. It will take time, paperwork, going through proper channels. But with what we have, you'll eventually get justice. Or at least compensation. And my children? Safe, Alyamai assured her. Mother Teresa is moving them to a more secure location tonight, just in case your uncle tries something desperate. But I think he's more worried about saving himself now than revenge. Chioma nodded slowly. Then, without warning, she burst into tears. Not sad tears, not happy tears, just the release of 15 years of pain, betrayal, and struggle. Auntie Blessing wrapped her arms around her, and the other former servants joined in, creating a protective circle around Chief Okonkwo's daughter. Your father would be proud, Auntie Blessing whispered. You fought back. You won. But as they stood there in Computer Village, being filmed by dozens of phones, becoming the latest Lagos drama sensation, Chioma's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. You've won the battle, but the war isn't over. Your uncle wasn't working alone, and the others won't be as easy to expose. Watch your back. You have more enemies than you know. Who else was involved? What other betrayals waited to be uncovered? Comment your theories, and don't miss the final chapter. 3 weeks had passed since the confrontation at Computer Village. The video had indeed gone viral. Widow exposes uncle's betrayal in Lagos market trended for days. News blogs picked up the story. Radio shows discussed it. Uncle Boniface had become infamous overnight. His reputation shredded beyond repair. But reputation wasn't the same as justice. Chioma sat in her new apartment, modest but clean, paid for with a portion of the money Alyamai had recovered from one of her father's old accounts. Adana and Chinidu were at school, wearing new uniforms, carrying new bags. They were safe, federal healthy, everything Chioma had fought for. Yet she couldn't shake the feeling that something was unfinished. The anonymous message had been right. Uncle Boniface hadn't been working alone, and in the 3 weeks since his public humiliation, Chioma had felt eyes watching her. Nothing concrete, just a feeling. Shadows that moved too deliberately. Cars that appeared too often. You're paranoid, Alyamai had said when she mentioned it. Understandable after everything you've been through. But Boniface is finished. He's hiding at his village home, avoiding everyone. His wife has filed for separation. His businesses are collapsing. He's not a threat anymore. But Chioma knew better. Men like her uncle didn't give up. They adapted. The knock on her door came at sunset. Chioma checked through the peephole and saw a woman she didn't recognize. Middle-aged, well-dressed, with an air of quiet authority. Mrs. Okafor, the woman called. My name is Amara. I was your father's accountant. I need to speak with you. It's urgent. Chioma opened the door cautiously. My father's accountant? Alyamai never mentioned you. Because Alyamai doesn't know about me, Amara said. Your father kept certain things separate. Secret. For protection. She glanced down the hallway nervously. May I come in? What I have to tell you. It's not safe to discuss in the open. Every instinct screamed danger. But curiosity and the need for answers won. Chioma let her in. Amara settled on the sofa, her hands clasped tightly. Your father was a brilliant businessman, but he was also careful. He knew his brother was dangerous, so he created multiple layers of protection. Alyamai was one layer, the public-facing partner. I was another, the hidden one. Why? Chioma asked. Because your father had assets Boniface never knew about, Amara said. Properties in other countries. Investments in international markets. Accounts in Ghana, South Africa, the UK. He told me that if anything happened to him, if Boniface tried to steal from you, I should wait. Watch, and only come forward when you were strong enough to handle the full truth. Chioma's heart raced. How much are we talking about? Approximately $5 million US, Amara said quietly. The number was incomprehensible. Chioma had been fighting over properties worth millions of naira, never imagining there were dollars hidden elsewhere. But there's a condition, Amara continued. Your father made these investments through, let's say, creative channels. Some of them were legitimate business deals. Others were more gray area. To claim them, you'll need to follow specific instructions. And you'll need to be very careful because Boniface might have figured it out. Chioma finished. That message I received, about other enemies. It wasn't about random people. It was about whoever else knows about these hidden assets. Amara nodded grimly. Your uncle had a partner. Someone who helped him plan your father's death, helped him forge documents, helped him maintain the deception for 15 years. Someone smart enough to stay completely hidden while Boniface took all the risk. And now that Boniface has been exposed, this partner is nervous, worried that the trail might lead back to them. Who? Chioma demanded. Before Amara could answer, the window shattered. Glass exploded inward. Chioma screamed, diving behind the sofa. Amara wasn't fast enough. A rock crashed into her shoulder, sending her sprawling. Chioma crawled to her, heart pounding. Outside, she heard running footsteps, laughter, then silence. Are you hurt? She asked Amara. The accountant winced, holding her shoulder. I'll survive, but this proves my point. Someone knows I'm here, knows I'm talking to you. They're sending a message. Chioma's phone rang. Unknown number. She answered, her hand shaking. Hello, niece. Uncle Boniface's voice was calm, almost friendly. I hope my message was clear. You may have destroyed my reputation, but I still have friends, resources, and I still have leverage. If you touch my children, Chioma started. Your children are safe, Boniface interrupted. For now, because unlike you, I'm not a monster. But I need you to understand something, Chioma. This isn't just about the properties anymore. It's about what your father really left behind. The international accounts, the offshore investments. I know they exist, and I know someone is helping you access them. Stop. Now, or the next rock comes through your children's school window. The line went dead. Amara struggled to her feet. He knows. Someone told him I was coming here. Who? Chioma asked desperately. Who's the partner? Amara's expression was pained. The person you'd least suspect. The person who's been helping you from the start, positioning themselves as your ally while actually working with Boniface to control everything. Ice flooded Chioma's veins. No, not Olyamide. He's been helping me. Has he? Amara challenged. Or has he been managing you? Keeping you focused on small victories while the real assets stay hidden? Think about it, Chioma. Olyamide always knew where your uncle was. Always seemed to arrive just in time. Always had perfect information. Doesn't that strike you as convenient? Chioma's mind reeled. Every interaction with Olyamide replayed in her head. His sudden appearance at the flood site. His knowledge of her uncle's movements. His careful guidance of every confrontation. What if it had all been theater? What if he and Boniface had been playing both sides, ensuring that no matter what happened, they controlled the outcome? I need proof, Chioma whispered. I have it, Amara said. She pulled out a phone. Not a smartphone, but an old Nokia. Your father gave this to me before he died. It has messages, voicemails, proof of the conspiracy between Boniface and his partner. I've kept it hidden for 15 years, waiting for the right moment to reveal it. That moment is now. She handed the phone to Chioma. With trembling fingers, Chioma scrolled through the messages. And there it was, message after message between Boniface and someone saved as business partner. Plans to poison Chief Okonkwo. Strategies to keep Chioma poor and desperate. Discussions about dividing the international assets after her father's death. And in one message, clear as day, good work pushing Emeka to marry the girl. Olyamide. Once she's locked into the family, she'll never ask questions. Chioma felt the world tilt. Olyamide. The man who'd claimed to be her father's best friend. The man who'd promised to help her. He'd been part of the conspiracy from the beginning. He'd helped arrange her marriage to Emeka. Helped keep her trapped and powerless. And now, he was still playing both sides, feeding her small victories while keeping the real treasure for himself. What do I do? Chioma asked, her voice breaking. You do what your father taught you, Amara said firmly. You fight smart. You gather your real allies. And you strike when they least expect it. Over the next week, Chioma moved carefully. She pretended to be discouraged by the rock through her window, told Olyamide she was considering giving up the fight, accepting whatever small compensation he could get her. He'd been sympathetic, supportive, encouraging her to be realistic about her expectations. All the while, she was planning. Amara had connections, real friends of Chief Okonkwo who'd stayed hidden to avoid Boniface's reach. They included a private investigator, a banker with international experience, and a former business partner of her father's who'd moved to South Africa but never forgotten his friend's daughter. Together, they built a case, not against Boniface alone, but against both conspirators. They traced money transfers between Olyamide and Boniface, found evidence of Olyamide's manipulation of property documents, discovered that he'd been slowly liquidating her father's international assets and splitting the proceeds with Boniface, all while playing the loyal friend. The emotional manipulation was staggering. Olyamide had befriended her mother as a grieving widow, then helped arrange her marriage to a man meant to keep her controlled. When Emeka started developing real feelings for Chioma and threatening to tell her the truth, Olyamide had arranged his heart attack. Poison again, the same method that had killed Chief Okonkwo. And now, with Boniface exposed, Olyamide was positioning himself to take everything, including Chioma's gratitude and trust. The final confrontation happened not in a public market, but in a private meeting Olyamide had requested. He told Chioma they needed to discuss transferring the remaining assets to her name. She agreed, bringing Adana and Chinedu to his office, because she wanted them to see what happened next. Olyamide greeted them warmly, offered the children candy, settled behind his desk with avuncular confidence. I have good news, Chioma. I've recovered most of your father's local assets. You should be getting approximately 50 million naira once all the paperwork is processed. Not as much as your father originally had, but enough to start fresh. 50 million, Chioma repeated, out of $5 million in international assets. Olyamide's expression didn't change, but his eyes went cold. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm talking about the accounts in Ghana, South Africa, and London, Chioma said calmly. The investments my father made through you. The money you and Uncle Boniface have been stealing for 15 years while pretending to help me. That's absurd. Is it? Chioma pulled out the old Nokia phone. These are messages between you and Boniface. Planning my father's death. Arranging my marriage to Emeka. Dividing the international assets. And here, she pulled out more documents, our bank records showing transfers between your accounts and Boniface's. Millions of naira moving back and forth for 15 years. Olyamide stood slowly. His warm, fatherly demeanor evaporated, replaced by something hard and dangerous. How did you get those? Amara, Chioma said. My father's real accountant. The one he kept hidden even from you. She's been watching you for 15 years, documenting everything, waiting for the moment when you'd make a mistake. Amara's dead, Olyamide said flatly. She died in a car accident 5 years ago. That's what you were told, Chioma said. But my father taught her the same lesson he learned. Sometimes survival means letting people think you're gone. She's very much alive, and she's been building a case against you this whole time. For a long moment, Olyamide just stared at her. Then he started laughing, a bitter, hollow sound. You're more like your father than I thought. Chief Okonkwo was always 3 moves ahead. I should have known he'd have a backup plan. Why? Chioma asked, though she suspected she knew the answer. Why betray him? He trusted you. Because I was tired of being the second, Olyamide said. Chief Okonkwo got all the glory, all the profits while I did all the work. When Boniface approached me with his plan, it seemed perfect. We'd eliminate your father, split the assets, and blame it all on natural causes. You were just a teenage girl, no threat. Easy to manage. But I wasn't easy to manage, Chioma said. No, Olyamide admitted. You turned out to be much stronger than expected. Even after we threw you out of your husband's house, even after the flood destroyed everything, you kept fighting. It was frustrating, but also impressive. He sat back down, looking suddenly old and tired. So what now? You expose me? Turn me over to the authorities? No authorities, Chioma said, because I learned something from my father and from you. Sometimes the best revenge isn't punishment. It's making someone live with the consequences of their actions. She pulled out a contract. This document transfers all remaining assets, both local and international, to my name. You sign it, and I let you walk away. Don't sign it, and these documents go public. Your reputation, your business, your family, everything gets destroyed like you destroyed my father. And if I sign, all you might ask, you live as you made me live, Chioma said. Poor, struggling, starting from nothing. You get to experience exactly what you put me through. And every day, you'll know that the daughter of the man you betrayed is thriving on the legacy you tried to steal. It was brutal. It was emotionally manipulative. It was exactly what they'd done to her, turned back on them. Al-Yamid stared at the contract for a long time. Then, slowly, he picked up a pen and signed. Your father would be proud, he said quietly as he stood to leave. And ashamed. You become everything he taught you to be, including ruthless. No, Chioma corrected. I've become a survivor. There's a difference. After Al-Yamid left, Chioma collapsed into his chair, shaking. Adana and Shinidu ran to her, and she held them tight, breathing in their scent, feeling their warmth. Is it over, Mama? Adana asked. Yes, baby, Chioma whispered. It's over. 1 month later, Chioma stood in front of her father's restored warehouse in Trade Fair. The building had been cleaned, repainted, reopened. Inside, workers were processing orders for fabrics, just like Chief Okonkwo had done decades before. But Chioma wasn't just recreating her father's business. She was creating her own, a trading company that employed single mothers, that provided fair wages and childcare, that gave second chances to women who'd been thrown away by their families. She named it Okonkwo Sisters Trading Company, both honoring her father and acknowledging the sisterhood of women who'd helped her survive. Mama Emika's church women's group tried to protest, claiming Chioma had destroyed good families with her lies and manipulations. But Lagos had moved on. The story of the brave widow who'd exposed her corrupt uncle had become legendary, and women across the city rallied to Chioma's support, making her business an overnight success. Uncle Boniface disappeared to his village, where he lived in the family compound, sustained by begrudging relatives who resented having to support him. His wife never took him back. His children changed their names, trying to escape the scandal. Al-Yamid kept his word. He'd moved to a small flat in Aja, taken a teaching job at a local school, and lived quietly. Sometimes Chioma saw him at the market, buying the cheapest food, wearing worn clothes. They never spoke, but their eyes would meet, and in those moments she saw recognition. He'd created the monster that destroyed him. The international assets her father had hidden totaled exactly what Amara had promised. $5 million, which Chioma invested carefully. Not lavishly, not recklessly, but with the wisdom of someone who'd learned the difference between wealth and security. She bought a proper house for herself and her children, set up trust funds for Adana and Chinidu's education, invested in women's businesses across Lagos, and saved the rest because she never wanted to feel desperate again. One evening, as she was closing up the warehouse, Mother Teresa appeared. I heard you were looking for me, the elderly woman said. I wanted to thank you, Chioma replied, for protecting my children when I couldn't, for giving me a safe place when I had nowhere to go. You saved our lives. Mother Teresa smiled. I did nothing special, just what women do for each other when men fail us. But I have something to tell you. Your father, Chief Okonkwo, he donated money to build our women's shelter years ago. He told me he wanted to create a place where his daughter could find refuge if she ever needed it. He knew what his brother was. He was preparing for this moment long before you were born. Chioma's eyes filled with tears. Her father had tried to protect her from beyond the grave, creating safety nets she'd never known existed until she needed them. He also left a message. Mother Teresa continued. She handed Chioma an envelope, yellowed with age. He said to give this to you when you'd proven you were strong enough to survive without him. With shaking hands, Chioma opened the envelope. Inside was a short note. My dearest Chioma, if you're reading this, you faced the worst betrayal family can offer and survived. You've learned that blood doesn't guarantee loyalty, that survival requires ruthlessness, and that sometimes the people who claim to love you are the ones who hurt you most. But I hope you've also learned that strength comes from standing up, even when standing up means standing alone. That real family is chosen, not born. And that the best revenge against those who betray you is to build something better than they ever imagined. I can't protect you from the pain that's coming, but I've given you tools, money, property, connections, and most importantly, the knowledge that you deserve better than crumbs from my brother's table. Be fierce, my daughter. Be smart. Be ruthless when necessary. But never lose the kindness that makes you human. I love you more than money, more than legacy, more than revenge. Your proud father, Chief Ezekiel Okonkwo. Chioma stood in her father's warehouse, surrounded by the empire she'd reclaimed and rebuilt, holding his words in her hands. She thought about Uncle Boniface, rotting in his village, about Olyamide, living the poverty he'd forced on her, about Mama Emeka, whose social standing had crumbled along with her lies. She didn't feel joy at their downfall, but she didn't feel guilt either. She felt free. That night, she returned to her own house, bought with her father's hidden money, and watched her children sleep in their clean beds. Adana wanted to be a doctor. Shanita wanted to be an engineer. And they could be anything they wanted, because Chioma had fought for their future. The domestic betrayal she'd suffered, the infidelity in marriage she'd endured, the public disgrace she'd faced, all of it had been designed to break her, to keep her small and afraid and dependent on the very people who were stealing from her. But they'd underestimated something fundamental. They'd underestimated a mother's love. They'd underestimated Chief Okonkwo's daughter. They'd underestimated the woman who'd survived the flood and come back stronger. And in underestimating her, they destroyed themselves. Chioma stood at her window, looking out over Lagos, the chaotic, beautiful, brutal city that had tested her and forged her. Somewhere out there, other women were facing their own betrayals, their own floods, their own moments of despair. She couldn't save them all, but she could build something that helped, a business that employed them, a network that supported them, a legacy that proved survival was possible. Her father had given her tools. Her enemies had given her motivation, and life had given her the ultimate lesson. Sometimes the flood takes everything, but if you're strong enough, you take it back with interest. Thank you so much for watching this powerful story. If Chioma's journey moved you, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more emotional African dramas. What did you think of the twist with Olyamide? Were you surprised? Comment below. Share this story with someone who needs to hear a message about resilience and survival. And don't forget to turn on notifications, because every week we bring you stories of strength, betrayal, and redemption that will keep you on the edge of your seat. See you in the next story.